You're listening to Love Without Lies, real talk about love, sex, and the truth most people are afraid to say out loud. Let's go. Today I want to start by saying, fuck the church. Not because I don't love God, not because I've lost my faith, but because I'm heartbroken. I'm so tired of hearing every story about relationships and marriage ruined by religious shame. One more man cast out instead of cared for. One more woman who was taught to fear her own body and then told to give it away like duty. I've heard too many stories. Wives who believe oral sex is a sin. Couples who waited and still ended up with dead sex lives. Men who were shamed for being too sexual instead of invited into healing. Christian counselors who told men to just pray it away rather than helping them understand themselves. And the worst part, these weren't people rebelling. These were people trying with everything they had to do it right, to honor God, to follow the rules, to be good. But religion didn't give them connection. It gave them fear and rules and silence. So if that opening made you flinch today, good, because we should all be flinching. We should all be flinching at the way purity culture has failed us, at the damage it did to our bodies, our relationships, our faith, and our sex lives. This isn't about rebellion, it's about reckoning. And if you've ever felt like your spiritual beliefs and your sexual truth were at war, this episode is for you. For generations, we were told control would keep us pure, that shame would make us moral, that if we feared sex enough, we'd treat it with reverence. But that's not what happened. What happened is we started seeing sex as something dangerous, as something dirty, something to fear, not feel, to hide, not heal. They thought fear would make us respect it, but it made us resent it, or worse, repress it. Now we're watching relationships fall apart, sexless marriages multiply, desire die in silence, and young people avoid intimacy today, not because they're more pure, but because they're more anxious, confused, and disconnected than ever. I mean, we see it everywhere. Mental health is tanking, suicide rates are climbing, and no one wants to talk about how much of this pain is rooted in our separation from our own bodies and truth. Religion shame didn't protect us, it sabotaged us. Because when people follow fear-based teachings about sex, they're not aligning with holiness. They're aligning with shame. And shame is not from God. Shame disconnects us. It disconnects us from our bodies, from our healthy desire. It disconnects us from feeling real intimacy. And sadly enough, it disconnects us from God's original design. This isn't purity, it's spiritual sabotage. God didn't give us sex to control us. He gave it to connect us. But religion taught us to mistrust it, to fear it, to shut it down, and forget how we feel. Let's rewind for a second. Before there were purity rings, before commandments carved in stone, before shame was dressed up as waiting, there was sex, and it was sacred. In the beginning, humans were naked and unashamed. There was no guilt, no just don't do it. Just trust, connection, and being fully seen, body and soul. Sex was never about making babies. It was about union, healing, pleasure, wholeness. Even modern science today backs this up. Studies show that safe, connected sex reduces cortisol, lowers blood pressure, improves immune function, it helps us sleep better, it boosts our mood. Sex literally heals us. But somewhere along the way, we stopped treating sex as medicine and started treating it like sin. And one of the biggest culprits today is the single line that so many of us have said, that sex is only for marriage. On the surface now, Don't get me wrong, that sounds wise. But in practice, it teaches people to attach their morality to a timeline, not their intention. And I'm guilty here. Like, I used to say this to my kids, not because I wanted to control them, but because I didn't know how to talk to them about sex in a way that honored it. I just repeated what the church taught me, right? Like, if you wait, you're good. If you don't, you're damaged. But God never said that. Fear said that, and fear pretended to be holiness. So here's what I say now. Sex is sacred when it's chosen with care, respect, and truth. When it's made with discernment and agency, not to impress someone, not to escape loneliness, not to earn love, but from a place of knowing your own heart and offering it honestly. Let's stop teaching rules about relationships. Let's stop outsourcing morality to marriage vows, and let's start raising a generation that sees sex not as shameful, but as powerful and sacred. Because fear won't protect them. Shame won't guide them. But truth sets them free. And let's talk about something that really trips me up. The 10 Commandments. Specifically the idea that sex is only for marriage because it says so in the Bible. I used to believe that, like fully believe that. It was taught with so much certainty in churches, I never thought to question it until one day I did. Once I started digging deeper, I realized something no one had ever said from the pulpit. Those commandments weren't just a list of moral do's and don'ts. They were survival rules. They were for a group of traumatized people who had just come out of slavery. They literally had no idea how to live freely, let alone how to relate to a holy God or to each other. So God gave them structure. He gave them basic boundaries so they wouldn't implode. And some of those laws, man, they were wild by today's standards. Like, don't wear mixed fabrics, don't eat shellfish, don't work on a Saturday, you could be stoned to death. Well, sorry for every entrepreneur who works on Saturdays, you're screwed. The point is, those laws weren't written for people living in modern society. They were written for a specific moment in history, and they weren't meant to last forever. That's literally why Jesus came. Not to scrap the rules, but to move us beyond them, to say, look, this was never about following rules or orders. This is always about the intention of your heart. It's not what you do, it's why you're doing it. And that changes everything. Suddenly, sex isn't just about whether you did it too early or with the right title in place. It becomes about intention, about connection and truth. And yet, here we are, still clinging to the old rules like they're a measure of worth, still weaponizing thou shalt not in conversations that should be full of grace and self-responsibility. And here's the thing. We don't live under laws anymore. We're not supposed to. And when you get stuck in that mindset where everything is just about checking boxes to avoid punishment, you miss the whole point of faith. God isn't grading your purity. He's trying to lead you to wholeness. That's why shame doesn't work. That's why fear-based teachings fall apart. Because they ask you to follow rules without helping you ever understand yourself, your body, your heart, and your why. So if you've ever felt like you broke the rules or you missed the mark, please hear me. God is not disappointed in you. He's not keeping score. He's not stuck in Old Testament mode. He's looking at your heart. He's inviting you into something deeper than fear. Because the goal was never behavior control. It was always about healing. If this stirred something in you, share it, re-listen, let it land. And if you're ready to go deeper, you'll find everything at therespectedman.com. Coaching, courses, and now, What Would Teresa Say, your private AI coach for men. Remember, you don't have to shrink to be loved. You don't have to go numb to stay. Stay open, stay honest, and I'll catch you next time on Love Without Lies.